Hello everyone, this is Rod and Todd, professional YouTuber who makes professional videos. And this is a random review of the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Shadow Ninjas Bushido. Bushido was released in 1994, the last year of the vintage G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero toy line. And as with all G.I. Joe Real American Hero figures, he stands about... he's supposed to stand up roughly 3 3/4 inches. I'm probably doing the math wrong. Give me a minute. So he stands at about... he almost stands about 4 inches. See, here we have Grunt. See, it's actually a little bit taller. So most G.I. Joe figures from the 80s and 90s stand at 3 3/4 inches. Yeah, Grunt here comes about up to that. And so this figure is a bit a bit taller. So he was released as part of the Shadow Ninjas sub-series of figures in 1994, which were all straight redecos of the 1992 to 1993 Ninja Force team, or figures, or whatever. And I actually got this figure sealed for $10, which was nice. So I cut it open here. You can see some of the plastic. It's very sharp. I did a very bad job of this. And it has a lot of stuff, so let's talk about the card. It has the G.I. Joe Real American Hero logo all on the side here. This is where the figure would be, and this is where all the accessories would go. This is part of the Shadow Ninjas set, as I mentioned, which all the Shadow Ninjas figures had color changing action, where they would, like, you would put them in water and they would change color. I guess a modern counterpart to this, if you know what the Hot Wheels color shifters or color changers, I think it's color shifters. Yeah, color shifters. You know what those are? They're pretty much the same principle. You put them in warm water to change them to one color, and put them in the cold water to change it to another. It's got the Shadow Ninjas logo here, which is basically just the Ninja Force logo, but with different text. It says, see here is Bushido, the Snow Ninja. Since the Ninja Force figures all had spring-loaded ninja action, and these all being redecos, that action carried over to the Shadow Ninjas. So it advertises his spring action Taisho punch. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but whatever. And unlike most vintage G.I. Joe figures, which had unique card art, it just uses the same card art of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, which are actually just or not really unchanged, but slightly recolored versions of their Ninja Force card art. So that's excuse me, that's odd. Has some legal information down here. I'm not going to bother to read that. And in the 90s, they started numbering the figures. This is number 39 in the 1994 set. So let me switch it around to the back. We have collect them all. It says here Inviso Power Martial Arts Fighters, and it has a cross-sell for the Shadow Ninjas versions of Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Bushido, which is the figure included in the packaging, Slice, Nunchuck, and a Cobra Night Creeper. You can see here. And these are all just redone versions of their Ninja Force card art. It says here, G.I. Joe's elite martial arts commandos now battle Cobra's fiercest fighters with Inviso power, turning both forces into the most secretive stealth ninjas the world has ever not seen. Also featuring spring action moves, ninja weapons, and specialized accessories. Has some instructions for how to fit the figure onto the included figure stand, and how to activate the action feature, which we will demonstrate now. Oh yeah, no, I'll just read these instructions. Remove all pieces in plastic frames. If you have difficulty, use safety scissors, because these were intended for kids. And then it says here, fit figure onto battle stand. And then the action feature, the Taisho punch. Wind right arm counterclockwise as shown, then hold into position. so like so. And then to activate, release arm. Just a karate chop action. Some of the other Ninja Force figures had more involved movements, like spring-loaded waists or like mechanized whatever. I think Bushido's is one of the simplest ones out there, just because you just kind of keep moving it back and forth. It's a karate chop action, as the file cards will read later. And then it has some instructions for how to activate Shadow Action Inviso Power. So you have to dip into warm water to activate Inviso Power, in quotations, and then you have to dip into ice water to bring back standard color. It also has your one flag point, which back in like the 80s and 90s you would cut out here and you would mail them in for mail away stuff. Nowadays, mail away exclusives don't really exist because Amazon. Also included was this little miniature catalog, Menace in the Wilderness, which you would use to mail away for things. And it has some advertisements for the International Action Figures set of 4 with special mail-away exclusive versions of Budo, Big Bear, Big Ben, and I think it's Spirits. And then it also has mail-aways the Cobra Wolf, the Cobra Ninja Viper, Hawk, Deep Six, and the Killer Whale, which here is called the G.I. Joe Hovercraft. It's kind of cute just to see what these cost back in 1994 and then compare them to the aftermarket prices now. Has where you would mail in for the stuff here. You have to put your child's name, birthday, address, city, state, zip code, phone number, and the parent's name. Let's see here. Please allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. Offer is good through September 30th, 1994. Dang it. Offer good only in the United States, except where prohibited by law. California residents, you gotta remember to add applicable sales tax. Also, it has some advertisements for the G.I. Joe Collector's Kit and a personalized G.I. Joe dog tag. So, that's cool. Moving on. Let's talk about the actual figure himself. So, Bushido is a straight redeco of his previous Ninja Force version. So this is version 2 of Bushido. It mentions the color-changing Inviso Power. This is his Inviso Power mode. This is how I actually found him when he was sealed. I don't know if it was either like whoever owned this before I bought it kept it and it didn't store it very well, or just because this figure is old or it's aged or whatever. But my color-changing feature does not work on this figure very well. I've been able to get him to turn blue after like spending all night in my freezer, but it doesn't work very well, except on the lower arms, which do turn a bright blue. But yeah, it's supposed to turn blue when you get it cold, and then it's supposed to turn back to this white when you get it warm. Or I think so anyway, yeah. So I'm not going to be demonstrating the color change feature, but they do make the little metal rivets blue so that they can match the regular form, your color. Pardon the background noise, that's simply my mother playing with my dog. And the joints on the elbows here are actually just opaque white plastic. This is all transparent white plastic, and I'm assuming they couldn't do the color change for the joints, so I decided to make it the same color as the power, or the invisible mode. It doesn't really stand out very well, but it would definitely stand out when this thing is blue. Some articulation for this figure. G.I. Joe figures by this point had evolved to have the ball-jointed head, which allowed them to move their heads up and down and left to right. But I'm assuming due to the action feature, Bushido could only move his left and right. He has some flesh-colored paint in his mouth and eyes, and this little thing here is rubber. So when you get it cold to attempt to change the color, just fair warning, this will harden, and you're going to want to be careful to not crack it. He has some gray straps. I'm assuming it's gray paint. I don't really know. And these straps have like some gear and stuff on it. He has a black belt. Not like a martial arts black belt, but just a black belt. All the way around. got a little pouch on his leg. And so moving on to the articulation, I already mentioned the head, but he also so he can move both arms out like this, but he can only move his left arm all the way around like so. Due to the action feature, he cannot move his right arm. However, it is on a ratchet if you want to click it back. I'm going to not. Just leave it like I found it. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. So G.I. Joe figures in the 80s and 90s had a rubber O-ring that looped around the inside and allow the figure torso articulation so they can like move forward and back like this. So here's the thing about it being a rubber band. Eventually rubber bands will dry rot and break. Guys at Hasbro actually had a really clever idea. Let's add this hole in their backs so that if the O-ring inside cracks, you can just buy a replacement, because the rubber bands that they used were actually very, you can just find them at any hardware store, which is nice. They made it, but they also made the hole serve a dual purpose. You could also like fit backpacks and stuff in the little in the back hole there. Probably isn't the best figure to show you, but he has the little back hole there. And you can just unscrew it if your rubber band inside breaks, and you can replace it, and it'll be just like new. But I'm assuming due to, again, the action feature with the he does not have Bushido does not have a back peg, or a back plug hole, whatever. But he does, though, however, have the rubber band inside him. That's that black thing right there. But, and for reasons that utterly baffle me, he has these little square thingies that prevent you from turning him at the torso like that. So basically, if the O-ring inside dry rots, you're not fixing that, buddy. Sorry, kid. Like at least like with all the other figures, if they break, it doesn't take very much. Like my grunt, he was on the verge of breaking, and I fixed him for like 50 cents. So you can get the little rubber bands inside for very, very cheap, even now. And so I don't know why they decided to choose to use an O-ring. If they're gonna prohibit the torso articulation, they didn't have to put an O-ring in there. And even then, if the O-ring breaks, you can't really fix it. So Hasbro, you are a monster. Moving on to the accessories. This is well into the era of G.I. Joe, where all the accessories came in these little weapons trees, which you would have to surgically remove all the weapons. This does have a downside of making all the weapons the same color, and also they're all reused from other figures. I'm not going to tell you which figures are reused from because I haven't done my research, but most of these are just redone Ninja Force accessories. So as you can tell, these would all come in transparent blue. G.I. Joe accessories before this era were all like unique molds and different colors and stuff, but Hasbro chose the lazy route. So we're going to take a look at the accessories. I'm not going to fit any of them in the figure's hands because if you know G.I. Joe, you know you don't want to break the thumbs, and all these have really thick posts, and I don't want to break the thumbs. So we're not going to be putting any of them in the figure's hands. I'll just be showing them to you. He has this battle axe, this sickle thingy with a loop right there for no good reason. He has this long sword, this short sword, this big knife, and he has these two little fork thingies. These are identical. And also, him being a figure from the 90s, he came with a figure stand. However, given how this figure is made out of transparent plastic, which is known to be very brittle, I'm not going to be putting this in his foot because I don't want to break it. I'm seeing stress marks all around his feet, and you know if you know what stress marks are on plastic, then you know that's a bad sign, especially on like a vintage toy like this. So, last thing for Bushido, we're going to talk about his file card. And G.I. Joe figures had file cards that would be like bios and stuff. If you grew up in the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. And so back in the 80s, G.I. Joe file cards were shaped like file folders. But then, a couple years into the 90s, they decided to make it so that they were just rectangle shaped with no nice little file card look. And in 1994, they decided to downscale the file cards that they're this size here. Normally, the file card would take up about the bottom half of the thing, or the back. But yeah, so you're intended to cut this out and just keep it. But I'm not gonna ruin this card any more than I already have, so I'm just gonna keep it on the packaging. Same with the flag point. You don't want to remove that. No. Okay, so this is Bushido. You can see there's a picture of him there, which is just artwork. He is number 39 in Series 1994. His codename is Bushido. He is the Snow Ninja for G.I. Joe. His file name is Lloyd S. Goldfine. His birthplace is Queens, New York. His pay grade is E5. His primary military specialty is Cold Weather Specialist, and his secondary military strategy, his secondary military specialty is Strategist. It has a quote here. It says, "Like an invisible razor, I cut swift and unseen." Okay, now onto the bio. Bushido is known for being cool and calculating in the heat of battle. After studying the techniques of such notable ninjas as Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, he trained himself in, of all places, Iceland. He actually likes to practice his martial arts skills in freezing temperatures, to heighten his sense of awareness and discipline. He has great respect for tradition and family pride, which is why he wears an ancient samurai helmet as did his warrior father. It's a short bio. See, this is around the time when they stopped having Larry Hama write the file cards, so they weren't as cool. So, crap. And, so that was my review of Shadow Ninjas Bushido. I'd say, I guess my Rod and Todd rating is, I'd say 4 out of 10. If you really want this figure, I guess more power to you. I really only bought this guy because he was sealed and he was cheap. You could just buy version 1 of Bushido, which has a nice neon blue, which I grew up on I'm a 2000s kid. I prefer neon over more subdued colors because pop. And I don't know, so the original Bushido version 1 had some nice neon blue and white. This one is just white and occasionally blue if you can get the color change to work. The action feature kind of limits the articulation there, and the stupid O-ring, like, it's just a time bomb. It's going to break eventually, and you're not going to be able to fix it, so that sucks. And so, yeah, I don't like the accessories. Like, they look cool, but the transparent blue and the fact that I can't really fit him in his hands, it's also a downgrade. When you compare it to like a more military figure like Grunt version 2 here, yeah, the difference is clear. So, yeah, if you really want like every vintage G.I. Joe figure, then pick this guy up. But if you're not a big fan of G.I. Joe, or if you like G.I. Joe but don't really care about stuff like Shadow Ninjas, and yeah, don't pick it up. So, as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're new. And this has been Rod and Todd, signing off.